Boaster, Angel, Crashies, Zelsis, already if not pushing 30. Are they done for? Is it time for the newer generation, the Zekin and the Juicies of the world, to show these guys out the door? Hi, I'm Emily, Valorant nerd, analytics student, and someone with clearly way too much time on her hands. I was just recently in Berlin to watch the MEA play off the qualifier, and also in Toronto for VCT Masters Toronto, where I got to watch PaperX play and win against Fnatic, 3-1. Because of that, I have been inspired to combine two things I really love: math, data, and Valorant. I would be a streamer, but I'm really bad at Valorant, so I'm doing this instead. Anyway, let's dive into our first video. So our question for today: are older players washed? Is Boaster's performance in that last game, is there some correlation with his age? Is he aging out? Is he losing his spunk? How are we going to answer that? Well, I pulled match level statistics from VCT Masters Toronto using Oracle's Elixir. Shout out to Ravishing Cast for putting me on there. Problem is, there was no download button, so I had to copy everything manually, by hand. Once I had that, I merged in players, the ages, the team IDs, and cleaned it all up. So, what did I end up getting? Well, 61 player IDs, 15 variables, and a whole lot of numbers. I'm going to go through all the variable names with you, just so you have a brief understanding of what they are. First of all, we have player name and team. Pretty self-explanatory. Player name is the name of each player, and the team name is the name of each team. Next is the team ID variable I generated, and that is the corresponding numerical value I have given to each team. So for example, and I'm not quoting this directly, Sentinels could be 1, RRQ could be 2, Wolves could be 3, and so on and so forth. Rounds played. This is the number of collective rounds each player played. Teams like Team Liquid, who had a player sub in for game 2 with Nats or Penny or Serial, they have a different number of rounds played compared to the rest of their team. Next, we have round win percentage. I converted all the percentages into decimals when transferring the data over, and thus the higher the decimal, the closer it is to 1, the higher number of rounds they won. RAR, or rounds above replacement, per best of 3, is a little bit harder to understand. It is how many rounds a player contributes relative to expected output. So that's baseline data for how they're supposed to perform. Essentially the expected value of their performance and how much above or below they are compared to that number. K, number of kills. D, number of deaths. KD, kill to death ratio. I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about here. We have our KPR, which is kills per round expressed as a decimal. Pretty straightforward. Kills per round. Higher, the better. Assists per round, same thing. ADR, average damage dealt per round. Basically the total amount of damage the player dealt divided by the number of rounds they played. The KAST, which is expressed as a decimal again, and this is the round percentage the player earned a kill, assist, survival, they survived the round, or they traded. We have KAST plus, which is similar to RAR, and that's the KAST relative to expected output. And that brings us to our summary statistics. Woo! We have a table. You're probably thinking, what do these numbers mean? Or, well, you're a huge nerd. Or, why should I care? Well, valid, but let me go through it very quickly to get to the meat of the video. So our summary statistics are a general overview of our data. The mean could also be technically referred to as the average, but I don't really like using that. It's only technically. It's the values of all the values within the variable divided by n, or 61 in this case. Standard deviation describes the spread of the data. So higher your standard deviation means the values are more varied, more farther apart, and the lower one means they're closer to the mean. Min and max Pretty straightforward. They tell us the smallest and the largest value of each variable within the data set. And finally, the number of values within each variable should be the same across the board. You can see it's all consistent, 61. Alright, now that we have our summary statistics done, I'll be looking at 5 different performance metrics to determine whether older players are washed. These are KPR, kills per round, ADR, average damage per round, KAST, kill, assist, survival, trade percentage, KD ratio, kill death ratio, and RAR, return above replacement. Let's start with KPR, or kills per round. Here's our basic regression. You're probably like, what am I looking at? What does this mean? What am I doing? What is life? Do not worry, because I will answer the first few questions, not the last one. So what we're looking at is the coefficient on age, which is negative 0.0128, which tells us that for each additional year of age, KPR, or kills per round, decreases on average by about 0.013, holding everything else constant. We can say this is statistically significant because of the high t-value, the low p-value, and that the confidence interval does not go through 0. Because we all like visual stuff, we all like graphs and bold colors, here is my graph with this relationship. We can see that with the line of best fit, there is a bit of a negative relationship, and we can tell from the previous regression that it is significantly negative. So we can say, yeah, the older you are, the less kills per round you do get. Interesting. Now, in statistics, it's pretty hard to isolate causation. That's why we never say anything is causal. We're trying to find correlation between two variables. And because of that, there's a lot of outside noise that could affect different things. Like, we're looking at age on kills per round, but could other things like experience, number of rounds played, the team even affect the number of kills per round you get? It doesn't have to be, it can't possibly just age, right? This is why we do robustness checks. So I'm running the regression again with additional control variables. These are additional variables we add into the model to see if the result changes a little bit, a lot. Here we go, we regress KPR, kills per round, on age, controlling for rounds played, kills, assists, survival, trades, and team ID, individual fixed effects. And again, we can see the coefficient here, minus 0.01728. Again, it's telling us that on average, as the player gets a year older, they get about 0.017 fewer kills per round. Though it is a really, really small number, there is a statistically significant difference here. Which means, okay, maybe it is an age thing. And that's it for KPR. So we found that there's a significantly statistic negative relationship between age and KPR. Will that hold for ADR as well? Okay, let's take a look at our basic regression. Average damage per round on age. So, I'm not sure if you guys remember how to interpret the table, but we can see here our coefficient for age is minus 2.050716, which tells us that an additional year of age decreases average damage per round by about 2.05. This is statistically significant. Oh my gosh! We can tell with the high t-value, the low p-value, and that the confidence interval does not go through 0. So it seems that, yeah, older players not only get less kills per round, they do tend to deal less damage per round. Interesting. We have our graph. Again, you can see that there is a negative relationship between the values, which holds up. Finally, for average damage per round, we have a robustness check. Here I'm regressing ADR with age, controlling for rounds played, KAST, and team fixed effects. Again, here the coefficient still holds. Yay! For every additional year, the ADR, the average damage per round, decreases by about 2.74. The t-value being big, the p-value being small, and the confidence interval not going through 0. So you can say again, it holds statistical significance. Okay, so our first two variables did hold, and it seems like older players do less kills per round and they do less damage per round. What about the last three variables? Well, it was quite interesting during my regressions. I actually found the opposite for RAR, for KST, and for KD by itself. So none of the regressions were statistically significant. They did have negative coefficients, but it wasn't enough to say there's a correlation, and it wasn't up to random chance. Maybe there is actually a correlation between performance and age, albeit only for certain metrics. I was quite surprised that KD was not statistically significant, though that could also have other factors into that. So like roles could have an effect on it, different like team dynamics. There's so much that can go into different performance metrics that we can't possibly capture within our data set. Honestly, I did expect to see statistically significant relationships across the board because of all the talk of like, oh, older players are washed. In normal sports, you can see that like older players do tend to retire quite early and the younger players tend to seem to dominate. But looking at the raw data here with esports, I mean, it's only limited to the Masters Toronto sample size, but I don't know how much it would change if I looked at the full data set from stage 1. I guess we'll see. If the video does well and I have incentive to go through like that much data, maybe I'll do it again. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video or at least learned something math related from it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about my lack of grass touching, here are my socials, and maybe I'll see you in another video.